The combo man cometh. Nope, dialogue.
The dark. Leave me alone. I'm interested in one thing, dog. You haven't the gift. Leave me alone. I'm interested in one thing. Leave me alone. I'm interested.
Now, that fellow is a Covenant leader, and he'll give you essentially the hard mode of the game that's kind of obnoxious. He doesn't like me because I don't have the gift for dark magics yet, but once you level up your stats to that point, in the long inevitable grind, or perhaps just to reallocate some stats, you'll be able to go and join the Dark Lurker Covenant, which isn't terribly exciting. I didn't enjoy it when I went through the first 2 levels of that. I never completed it. I ended up diving into the DLC of Scholar before even approaching the third part of that, just because it's kind of ridiculous, the process of going in and out. It's not cost efficient in the slightest, and I didn't really find myself getting much out of diving deep into the abyss. Sort of like how this playthrough will go. The Huntsman's Copse, it's okay. It's honestly, to me, the equivalent to the Undead Burg, even more than the Forest of Fallen Giants is, because at least that's like an interesting fortification. The spiritual successor to the Forest of Fallen Giants, in my opinion, is the Walls of Lothric in Dark Souls 3. I feel like that was a more spiritual and equitative successor. Sure, there's the Undead Settlement, but if you go from the Undead Burg and then you do the High Wall of Lothric, you're like, oh, it's more linear, but it's essentially the same kind of premise that they were going for. Now, I came in here thinking that I was going to actually just steamroll through it. I'm very confident at this point in the playthrough, and it shows. I make a lot of mistakes. I make a bunch of very greedy mistakes. But that is the lesson life was giving me at this time. I don't really care for this area at all. It's very short, brief, and it doesn't give me too much, but it is a way to progress in the story and continue on. I'm pretty sure this route ultimately will take me, I think, to the Old Iron King. It should get me on the way to the Old Iron King and his demon form. That's when we get real video gaming with our video game designed levels. It's just a very small area, to be honest. It's smaller than I remembered it being, and it was full of goofy things. Like, I clearly should have been hit there by that big Hades from God of War 3 looking fellow. But his second hit didn't hit me because he's big, slow, and he's stupid. And I have I think a +6 weapon at this point. So the Hide Knight Sword is carrying me a little bit, and my ability to just spell snipe is also helping. And as you can see, I did ultimately switch over to doing 2 regular soul arrows. This way I would have 60 ammo instead of 30 and 15 of something else. I went for maximum casting abilities rather than not. But also, as you can see from this shot, there is a limit to its draw distance. It has pretty good range, being the most basic soul arrow, but it does have limitations. Not all of them are bad, though. And if memory serves me right, at this moment here, I should be getting invaded by the Forlorn. Now, a thing I found to be very fascinating about Dark Souls 2 is that the Forlorn are a reoccurring invader who will invade you regardless of what level of hollow you may or may not be, and his spawn rate is dependent on how many hours and how many Forlorn you have defeated already. And as you can see, I tried parrying this big scary man, but that did not work so well. So I'll crush a couple things of heroin, and after swallowing those sweet, sweet rocks, I decided just to engage him in single combat. It's like, oh man, couldn't hit me, but ooh, do I hit you? And I do understand. I'm pretty sure that the Forlorn's damage does scale according to where I am, so my weapon doesn't quite match my level, and that's why I was able to take him so easily. Dark Spirit Forlorn was the vanquished. Be gone. Get out. No one likes you. That's why you're forlorn. You have no home. And it was just not a completely surmised lore addition, these forlorn fellows. Once we get Strayed included into the game at the Lost Bastille right before the Lost Sinner boss fight. Once we get him unlocked and we can edit boss weapons, that's actually the merchant you'll want to go to if you want any of the gear that the Forlorn are using. Which is pretty good. I mean, it's the cover art of Scholar of the First Sin when you buy it, if you buy it physically or if you just look at it in the menus. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at a Forlorn, which is basically the design type of Dark Souls 2 in a nutshell. Very intricate, well-designed, but somewhat shambling armor pieces that are all put together, and then there's just an anime as fuck hoodie put on there. Combine that with a big sword that no one could possibly use, a lot like the weapons that this fellow is using. Yeah, big energy there. Now, you'll notice that when I was backstabbing him, that enemy wasn't locked in the backstab animation, and so Bashful Ray was able to claw grab that very scary man. I feel that they did that because these enemies, these weird Dementor torturer types that are just skinny versions of Hades from God of War, I'm going to keep on banging on about that for a bit, they use dark damage in their moves, and when they hit you, it's very likely, unless you have some resistance to dark magic, that they can one-shot you if they hit you and you're stuck in that combo animation. It's very easy for them to do that. Because of how I play, and I know this footage is including Bashful Ray, so it's not really showing it, I play a very selective pick-off game. Yes, the general strategy in Dark Souls games is, oh, that's a lot of difficult enemies, and the game doesn't really like it when you fight more than one at a time, because it makes it very difficult. Cool. Pick them off one by one. Yes, step one, always in these huge areas, slowly work your way through, pick them off one by one. I happen to like sparingly adding magic to the mix, so if I can't harass them up close, I can stun lock them. Thanks to the staggering ring that I'm wearing, their poise is basically non-existent, unless they're a boss. And then I can go in, and every time I cast a spell at somebody, they will stop moving. You see? They get knocked back a little bit unless they're in the middle of a weapon animation. The pushback on the spells are quite strong in this case. Now here, I kind of went in and I tried attacking. Yeah, see? Look at that damage. It's fucking insane. And very, very artificially difficult, sadly. It's only difficult because the numbers there. They aren't using well-to-do tactics in the slightest, despite having a dark notched whip that's pretty cool, and a big old scary halberax thingy-ding. But if you happen to have a weapon of a good horizontal string, yeah, you'll be fine. And that ultimately led to them being defeated here. I have to say, the first boss in this area, I probably shouldn't have tried tackling him first. What I do later in this video is I go for the other boss that actually progresses the plot rather than try to approach the PvP covenant that's actually in this area. I should have just gone for the plot first. The boss here, the Chariot Demon, or I forget what it's called. I think it's the Chariot Demon or the Chariot Rider. Big horsey boy. He's a bad fucking time. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anyone. He's a bitch. And a half. 3/4. Quite bad. Also, this bridge, deceptive as fuck. Very bad. So, you'll notice that my camera is suddenly very much careened downward, and that's because there's a couple spots that if you're not careful and you don't watch where the boards are, you'll just fall to your death because you think it's just a flat, regular bridge, in which case it is not. And I'm also looking back. That's because there are hollows, just hanging off the bridge waiting to ambush me at a certain point. See? Look, now they're already up, and I've chosen to disembark going forward just to take care of them. I recommend doing this. Mostly because if you're playing Scholar, and you're playing the Scholar with updates, I hope, because otherwise the game will be more unbalanced, there's this big fellow, Guts from Berserk, using a shield, and he's easily buried. Every time. So just, you know, get in a couple good hits, just do a good one. Yep, get a little string in, you'll notice he's mostly dead, switch back, and repeat. Oh wow, what an encounter. Truly, my match was met that day. Anyway, aside from my arrogance, going in here, this is where the bad times roll. Everything goes wrong. Everything. See, this is where we get proper boss fight things, where you get that bloody retina for some reason. And then there's that skeleton who wants to be Wamu from JoJo. Awaken, my master! Oh, dear God! And he's gone. Except he'll get back up, because this fight is stupid. Executioner's Chariot, that's right. So, you'll notice that there's skeletons here, yeah? Well, these skeletons have a lovely perk of being immortal forever. And you actually get a hint of it if you didn't just streamline your way over this way first. And the hint is that there are sorcerers in a different part of the level, much like these. And these are the reason that skeletons become such a problem in the area, because there's 2 sorcerers, and per sorcerers there's 3 to 4 skeletons connected to each caster. Problem is, the chariot's going to keep going round, right, round, despite the area telling me that there's no possible way the executioner's chariot should be able to do that, because the track doesn't actually make any logical sense with its current abilities. Because there's huge gaps in the floor that I'm not allowed to traverse that it is. And I don't understand how that happens. Like, at all. And I wish it gave me iframes when I was throwing that lever. This is the only case of that happening. In a lot of Dark Souls games you get iframes when you open doors and the like, and that's why people like it, in Bloodborne especially. Because you'll just get iframes for it. It'll be fine. And as you can see, I made a dumb decision thinking I could just tank that. And then I tried killing the sorcerer, too late, turned my back to a bunch of skeletons, and yeah, no, I died. Because I got greedy. And that is 99.9% of the deaths in Dark Souls 2. From this point on, I took my helmet off, because I wanted to see how much of a big, pruny-faced man I was. I really wanted to remark on the various creases and grossness of my hair turning white for some reason, and my skin turning green for some reason. And then I also equipped the Drangleic shield so I could have a much better shield for bullshit encounters. Because I wanted something of a better stability. Better stability in this game equates to having much better stamina consumption from blocking and less pushback. And then I went about the business of, oh, different area. Okay, going through, cleaning house, and that's more or less what she wrote. And I ran into more of these bullish rogues. Once again, the highwaymen are like, oh, is this a narrow walkway and I have big swings that can knock you back if you fuck up? Well, I guess it's time to touch ya. After then saying fuck that to that, I went into this cave full of, well, curses and skeletons. And this is where we would have gotten our first hint of, oh, there's more to it, and that's when we see Sorcerer Man. Because had I tried to just take down any of these skeletons, I would have been mercilessly killed, just like that. But that was also because I was a big coward who wasted his stamina. All I had to do was time my points out, go point blank, and stab that man out of his casting animation. But I hesitated. The hesitation there is exactly what killed me. Just like me not drinking coffee. I'm going to do that now. Estus. Estus is the bestest. And so, then we get into the wash and rinse section of the footage. I'm going to go ahead and speed this up just a little bit. Are you glad that's over with? I know I am. Anyhow, once again, we are met with the highwaymen, except now there's a couple assholes shooting arrows. And, you know, I decided, nah, we don't need that right away. Let's do some more LP funsies, and just start going up shit. And so, up shit I went. And then I was invaded by the merciless Rona. Or Roanna. I think Roanna's kind of fun. Anyway, this weird spiritualist lady walks around with a scythe and big scary Gorgon head thing. Wasn't a fan. It actually does pretty good damage, but so do I, oddly enough. Now, that's the only thing she uses, and she kind of doesn't use it well. I thought about getting sexy and using a parry on this woman, but parrying scythes is kind of difficult. So I decided against that, and then after I saw her chugging Estus, I was like, there is no honor here to stay. And then I discovered she's actually very weak to magic. So a few casts of that, and what do you know? The invader who was chugging Estus was not the bestest. In fact, she was dead, like the restus. 'Cause fuck that. Fuck that noise. And there's a way down. You could either jump, or not jump. I chose not to. And then I was squirted on by some very strange aggressor up in the trees that I didn't spot, even though they're massive. I was like, oh, look like that good. That's going straight into the fucking river. I can't actually go in. Oh, geez, thank you. Now, I don't like that. Also, why even drop the gear if you're going to place the enemy in an area that prevents me from ever touching said drop? Seems kind of pointless, doesn't it? I think it does. Very pointless. Stimulants! I also really love that. I wish that came back in Dark Souls 3. If you headshot or get headshot, the enemy or yourself actually go into this long stagger state of oh, no! You know, just old man Joseph Joe starring it the whole time. Oh my god! But, you know, it's fine. I actually really like the DLC helm you get. There's a helm in the, I want to say it's the Poison DLC. I forget what it's called. Is it the Buried City? Yeah, it's got a lore name, but I totally forget it. It's been too long. I'll dive into it in this Let's Play, I promise. Now, the bell, it's a helmet that's shaped like an old-timey bell. And when you wear it, if somebody were to actually shoot you in the head, you would take no damage, and it would ding. It's heavy as all hell, and that's the main detriment of it, is that it's quite heavy. But as soon as you get hit by it, it's just ding. Like, look at this man with his bright ideas. He's really successful. Way to go, bud. From there, yep, there's this typical waterfall, and it leads back again into the same type of area we were in before, except this time I already killed the caster, so these skeletons are free game. Don't have to worry about them too much. They will go down. And the main way you'll know is, well, you'll get souls if you kill them. And if you don't, that means they're not dead. And you'll have to kill them again. And again, and again, and again, until you actually kill the caster and get your money's worth. Whatever little bits that may be, because right now, I think at this point of the recording, I was around level 86. I want to say I was level 86. The farming has drastically reduced the likelihood of me coming back to areas like this, because the money's just not worth the risk. Especially when there's these cursed pots full of from the Shaded Woods area that I'll be going to also in the future very soon. Those pots curse you by being near them, and that's very quarrelsome. Not a fan. Oh, look, Crystal Lizard. Well, thank you for giving me enough time to look through my things, Mr. Skeleton. Oh, and he got skeleboned. And then we have another shard. I keep on not doing an Irish accent when I say shard. Because that's a little bit of a hard thing to say, really. When you go about having some river on your tongue. The Irish Spring smelling, corned beef and hash microwaving. No, I'm being incredibly insensitive and really bad. Anyway, went through. I always like doing this. It's a habit. If there's an area I've cleared and it requires torch lighting, if I'm near a bonfire and I have the ability to, I will go back and I will light each and every one of these sconces. In the tutorial area, there's a bonus invader and some extra items if you do that. I forget what it is and what you earn from it, but I think it's somewhat significant. I don't know. I'd have to spend a fragmented branch of yore to do it, and I'm not really interested at that point of the playthrough right now to do it. Just know that if you play Dark Souls 2 sometime in 2020, dating this video hard, yeah, you do that, that'll give you something. Big recommendo. Oh, Jesus. I just realized I've been itching my foot. I'm sitting in my living room right now. Not my living room, but my bedroom. Wow. Lies. And I just realized I've been scratching my foot into the microphone this whole time. Ugh, I'm disgusted. Stimulants! Now, here's a boss that's actually really easy, but really not at the same time. It's the first horde boss of the game that you can reach right from the rip, unless you buy like a diving stone and suicide run into the Tomb of the Ancients. Now, the Skeleton Lords are 3 guys that become more than 3 guys. Every Skeleton Lord you kill just jizzes out skeletons from them. They have their own successive health bars. And what's very not great about them is they don't do a ton of damage, but that's because there's multiple skeletons spawning from those skeletons. If you kill one specific Skeleton Lord, and I believe it's the one that's still alive right now, he is a big old problem. The reason he's a problem is he spawns the only pinwheel skeletons from Dark Souls 1. He just drops them. There's no lore reason why there are so many fucking skeletons all in this one space and that they've congealed into like a sex orgy of everything nearby that you're currently seeing. Like, it's just an army of skeletons that became sentient. They all decided to become an autocratic society. Very much just voting for themselves. The 3 skeletons of Bravos, something like that. I don't know. It's incredibly annoying. See, look, Pinwheel Boys doing what Pinwheel Boys do, nearly killing me. Aw, man. Bone Boys doing what Bone Boys do. Hey, look, their health is shit because there's so many. And as you can see, I'm prioritizing the Pinwheel Boys because they just need to go. Once that's over and said, I just started casting. I got a little bit tired and wary, and I love some of their animations. The animations for the enemies in this game are hilarious. Just because there's random skeletons that just start sprinting at you going, yeah, He-Man! And they just have all these dynamic combat rolls and interestingly well-formed thrusts. Like, these skeletons are very well educated. And it's so fun to watch. Just because it seems like they try way harder than the player character does. And I love that. I love that a lot. It can be annoying, but to be honest, I think it flavors things pretty well, considering there's no rhyme, reason, story, or otherwise to really explain why they're here. If I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. I would love to find out why there's just a shit ton of skeletons having sex and boning each other infinitely in that single room. Yeah, go ahead. Load me up with that lore, baby. Go full body video. Just fill me up. For my flask is empty, and I need it to runneth over. Now, from here, this is the way you get to the Earthen Peaks, which, again, will appear in later games, luckily enough. It's only really seen in the Ring City of Dark Souls 3's DLC, which is okay. Oh god, if I had to personally think about the DLC and the From Software titles I think I like the Hunter's Nightmare DLC of Bloodborne almost as much as I like the DLC for Artorias in Dark Souls 1. if I were to pick a tier, it would be the Old Hunters, Artorias, then the Ring City, and then the various other kingdoms and towers that you get in this game. This game's probably the worst end of it, though I enjoy its designs, but again, there's not a lot of telling reasons as to why I'm there to begin with. I mean, there is one, but it's kind of shitty.